Manny, good to have you with me. You know Marco Rubio from your time in Florida, but you endorsed Senator Ted Cruz. So why would he be a better president for the citizens of Florida?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Thomas. I had every reason to support Marco Rubio. We're both from Miami. We're both Hispanic. We both teach at FIU. I'm a professor of business. He's a professor of politics. But at this point, Rubio has no path to the nomination. And that has to be clear by now. Even today, if he were to win Florida today, which is obviously the primary is not today, he'll still be behind Ted Cruz in delegates. So it's important to point out why I'm supporting Ted Cruz. Both of them ran on the conservative platform, Thomas, when they ran for Senate, except one went to Washington and did everything he said he's going to do. The other one, Marco Rubio, went to Washington and basically abandoned his campaign promises. And now what you're seeing today in the polls is Floridians abandoning Marco Rubio.
So when you think about, Manny, what the Cruz camp is doing here, because he's behind in the polls by 16 points when it comes to Marco Rubio, wise for him to spend a lot of the money and the resources here and act as a spoiler for Marco Rubio, because there's really no chance for Ted Cruz to get those delegates, and that makes his path even harder because it just enhances Donald Trump's.
Thomas, from the very beginning, you hear that that we want to run a 50-state campaign, a national campaign. That's what we're doing, including in Florida. We opened 10 offices. We have over 300 people in our leadership team in the county, among county coordinators, over 10,000 volunteers. So we do want to make a play for Florida, and we do know that it's an uphill battle. But it's a battle that only we can make. The anti-Trump vote has to come to us because they're not going to go to Marco Rubio. They've been burned by Marco Rubio before. So now that we've seen that Donald Trump is flexible on immigration, flexible on his policy, and we all know that flexible in D.C. means that you're going to stick it to the voters, we think that those votes are naturally going to come to us. Floridians have been burned before by Marco Rubio. If we make it clear that they're going to be burned by Donald Trump, the only alternative is Ted Cruz. And so that's our case.
Manny, we know that as we look at the numbers here, Cuban Americans made up 8% of the vote in the 2012 primary in Florida. Marco Rubio obviously trying to win that community's vote. Ted Cruz of Cuban heritage as well. So does this kind of, for that demo, take out of the equation if you're picking between those two men who you can throw your weight behind? Obviously, you might be attracted to them because of Cuban heritage, but is it something that you look at their voting record?
Yeah, I think Floridians, myself included, a Hispanic American, I'm going to look at their voting record. How do they adhere to the Constitution? Do they do what they say they're going to do? And in Miami specifically, we've been running a pretty aggressive surrogate campaign. We've been on Spanish media very often. We have many Cuban Americans supporting Ted Cruz, and pretty soon we're going to release a very impressive list